You're lying in bed. It's 2 a.m. You can't sleep. Not because of caffeine, not because of noise, but because of money. Your brain is running numbers. Rent is due Friday. The credit card balance is creeping up. You haven't contributed to retirement in 3 months. And somewhere underneath all the specific worries is a deeper feeling, a heaviness, a dread, a low-frequency hum that says, you're not okay, and you won't be okay until you have enough. And in that moment, enough feels impossibly far away. Like you need $500,000, or $1 million, or some number so large that it might as well be fiction. Here's what I want to tell you. The number is real. There is a specific net worth that buys genuine peace of mind. The kind where you sleep through the night, where the 2 a.m. worry loop stops, where money fades from the center of your thoughts and settles quietly into the background. And that number is dramatically lower than you think. It's not $500,000. It's not $250,000. Based on multiple converging lines of research from psychology, behavioral economics, and large-scale well-being surveys, the net worth that purchases true financial peace of mind for most people is roughly $50,000 to $75,000. And the reason that number is so much lower than you'd expect changes everything about how you should think about building wealth. My name is Max, and I want to help you learn how to make your money work more for you in your life. This channel is about understanding the real relationship between money and how you actually feel. Not the relationship the internet sells you, but the one the research supports. If you want to know what's worth building toward and why, subscribe, because we go deep on this every single week. So here's the belief I want to challenge. Most people believe that financial peace of mind is proportional to wealth. Twice the money, twice the peace. 10 times the money, 10 times the peace. And that belief creates a goalpost that never stops moving. You think $50,000 will bring peace, but when you get there, you think you need $100,000. At $100,000, you think you need $250,000. At $250,000, you're looking at $500,000. The goalpost moves because the underlying model is wrong. Peace doesn't scale linearly with money. It follows a logarithmic curve. Let me explain what that means, because this one concept might be the most valuable financial insight you ever learned. Think about a volume knob on a stereo. When the knob is at 0 and you turn it to 2, the change is enormous. Silence to sound, life-changing. Turn it from 2 to 4, and the change is still noticeable. Louder, clearer, better. Turn it from 4 to 6, and honestly, the improvement is there, but it's smaller. Turn it from 6 to 8, and you can barely tell the difference. Turn it from 8 to 10, and at this point, you're straining to hear any change at all. That's the relationship between net worth and peace of mind. The first $50,000 is the turn from 0 to 5, the massive, life-altering leap from financial stress to financial calm. The next $50,000 from $50,000 to $100,000 is the turn from 5 to 7, noticeable but far less dramatic. And after $100,000, each additional dollar of net worth produces a smaller and smaller increment of peace. The curve flattens, the gains shrink, and at a certain point, well before most people expect, additional wealth produces essentially zero additional peace. The research confirms this pattern with remarkable consistency. Daniel Kahneman and Angus Deaton's famous study on income and well-being found that emotional well-being, the day-to-day experience of joy, stress, and satisfaction, plateaus at roughly $75,000 in annual income. More recent research from Matthew Killingsworth at Wharton refined this, finding that well-being continues to rise above $75,000, but at a dramatically reduced rate. And critically, both streams of research show that the steepest improvements in well-being happen at the lower end of the curve, between financial insecurity and moderate financial stability. Translate that income research to net worth, and the picture is consistent. Survey data from the Federal Reserve's Survey of Consumer Finances and various well-being studies suggest that the sharpest reduction in financial anxiety, the biggest volume knob turn, occurs between $0 and approximately $50,000 to $75,000 in net worth. After that, peace of mind continues to improve, but slowly and with diminishing returns. But here's where it gets really interesting. The reason the curve flattens isn't financial. It's neurological. Your brain doesn't process wealth as an absolute number. It processes wealth as distance from threat. And the distance from threat that matters most is the first layer. The gap between one emergency from catastrophe and I can absorb most things life throws at me. At $0 to $10,000, you're within striking distance of catastrophe. One job loss, one medical bill, one major repair, and you're in crisis. Your brain registers this as chronic threat, and it maintains a constant state of low-level fight or flight activation. That's the 2 a.m. worry loop. That's the background hum. At $10,000 to $25,000, the immediate threat recedes. You can handle a single emergency, but the brain is still vigilant because one large event could still bring you back to the danger zone. The hum is quieter, but it's still there. At $25,000 to $50,000, something shifts. You can now absorb multiple emergencies without approaching zero. A job loss doesn't mean crisis. It means a period of adjustment with a meaningful buffer. A car repair and a medical bill in the same month. Stressful, but survivable. Your brain starts to register the environment as fundamentally safe. The fight or flight system begins to stand down. At $50,000 to $75,000, the system fully stands down. You have roughly 1 to 2 years of essential expenses accessible. The probability of a financial catastrophe that your buffer can't handle has dropped to near zero for the vast majority of life events. And your brain, which has been running threat detection for years, finally, genuinely powers off the financial anxiety module. The 2 a.m. loop stops. Not because you decided to stop worrying, because there's nothing left for the threat system to detect. I want to be clear about what powers off means because it's not a figure of speech. Neuroimaging research on financial stress shows that people with inadequate savings exhibit heightened amygdala activation, the brain's fear center, when confronted with financial decisions. This activation produces measurable cortisol spikes, reduced prefrontal cortex function, and impaired long-term planning. At sufficient financial buffers, the amygdala activation normalizes. The fear center stops firing, and the prefrontal cortex, your rational, planning, future-oriented brain, reclaims the bandwidth. You don't just feel calmer. Your brain is literally operating in a different mode. Above $75,000, additional net worth provides security against increasingly unlikely scenarios. Multi-year unemployment, catastrophic uninsured medical events, complete market meltdowns. These are real risks, but they're low probability, and your brain doesn't produce proportional anxiety for low probability events the way it does for high probability ones. That's why the curve flattens. The threats that generate the most anxiety, the everyday ones, the realistic ones, are already covered by $75,000. Now, I know you may be thinking, if peace of mind peaks at $75,000, why bother building more? And that's an important question. The answer is that peace of mind and financial freedom are different things. Peace of mind is the absence of financial anxiety. Financial freedom is the presence of financial options. You can have peace at $75,000, but freedom, the ability to stop working, to pursue passion over paycheck, to take multi-year sabbaticals, requires significantly more. The two goals serve different needs, and it's worth understanding which one you're pursuing at any given stage. The reason this matters right now is that most people in their 20s and early 30s are pursuing peace but using freedom's numbers as the target. They think they need $500,000 to stop worrying when they actually need $50,000 to $75,000. And because the target seems impossibly far away, they get demoralized. They procrastinate. They think, I'll never get there, so why try? But $75,000 isn't far away. It's achievable. And the peace it provides is available years, sometimes decades, earlier than they imagined. This distinction also explains a paradox you may have noticed. people with a lot of money who still seem anxious. If peace maxes out around $75,000, then the person with $500,000 who's still stressed isn't lacking money. They're lacking the recognition that they already have peace available to them. They skipped past the $75,000 milestone without ever letting the peace land because they were always chasing the next number. They have freedom, but never claimed peace. And that's a tragedy that the logarithmic curve predicts perfectly. Once you're past the peace threshold, more money cannot give you what you failed to claim at $75,000. Let me show you the timeline. At $500 per month invested at 8% returns, you reach $50,000 at approximately month 72, 6 years. You reach $75,000 at about month 96, 8 years. That's 8 years from wherever you are right now to genuine, research-backed financial peace of mind. Not retirement. Not never work again. But the tangible, neurological experience of not worrying about money. 8 years. And if you're investing $700 per month, it's closer to 6 years for $75,000. Now compare that to the common goal of $500,000. At $500 per month at 8%, that's roughly 24 years. At $700 per month, about 20 years. The gap between peace, $75,000 at 8 years, and the number you thought you needed, $500,000 at 24 years, is 16 years. 16 years of unnecessary anxiety because you were aiming at the wrong target. And this is the part most people miss. The person who understands the logarithmic curve has a massive strategic advantage. They know that the first $75,000 in net worth provides 80% of the peace that $750,000 provides. So they prioritize reaching $75,000 with urgency because the ROI on peace per dollar invested is highest in this range. And once they have the peace, they continue building toward freedom from a position of calm rather than desperation. They make better investment decisions. They take smarter career risks. They compound more patiently. The peace at $75,000 actually accelerates the journey to $500,000 because peaceful people build wealth faster than anxious people. The identity shift is real. The person at $75,000 in net worth has spent 6 to 8 years building consistent financial habits. They've automated savings. They've weathered market downturns. They've resisted lifestyle inflation through multiple income increases. Those habits aren't temporary, they're permanent. And the person running those habits from a state of peace is unstoppable because they're no longer building wealth to escape anxiety. They're building wealth because the habits have become who they are. And this is perhaps the most important distinction in the entire wealth building journey. The difference between building from fear and building from peace. Building from fear is exhausting, reactive, and fragile. It works until you get tired, and then it collapses. Building from peace is sustainable, proactive, and durable. It continues because the process itself is calm enough to maintain indefinitely. The $75,000 threshold doesn't just provide peace, it transforms the quality of your building. And higher quality building produces higher quality results. Here's what peace looks like in the everyday scenarios that matter. Your landlord raises rent by $200 per month. Before $75,000, this is a budget crisis that requires restructuring your entire financial life. After $75,000, it's an inconvenience. You adjust your budget, absorb the increase, and your savings rate dips slightly for a few months before your next raise corrects it. The event registers as a logistical adjustment, not a threat. The stock market drops 20% over 3 months. Your $75,000 portfolio is now $60,000. Before you had $75,000, this would have been catastrophic psychologically. At $75,000, you've been through drops before. You know the recovery comes. You buy more shares at lower prices. 6 months later, you're at $80,000. The drop wasn't a crisis. It was a discount. A family member needs a $3,000 loan. Before $75,000, this request creates agonizing conflict between family obligation and financial survival. After $75,000, you can evaluate it clearly. Can you afford it? Is it the right decision? What are the boundaries? Without existential pressure contaminating the decision. Money decisions become relational decisions instead of survival decisions. And the career effects of peace are where the compounding becomes extraordinary. At $75,000, you have what I call composed confidence. Not the loud, posturing kind of confidence that comes from status. The quiet kind that comes from not needing anything from anyone. You walk into salary negotiations knowing your number, but not fearing the outcome. You take on visible projects without the crippling anxiety of what failure might cost. You set boundaries with bosses and clients because the worst possible consequence, needing a new job, isn't financially threatening. Research from the University of Warwick found that happy workers are approximately 12% more productive than unhappy ones. And financial peace is one of the strongest contributors to happiness. If your peace-driven productivity increase generates even a $3,000 per year raise over what you would have earned in an anxious state, that's $3,000 per year compounding for decades, generated entirely by the calm that $75,000 in net worth created. Now, here's the warning that's specific to the logarithmic curve. Once you hit $75,000 and experience the peace, there's a temptation to chase more peace through more money, to think, if $75,000 feels this good, imagine $200,000. But the curve says otherwise. $200,000 will feel slightly better than $75,000, not dramatically better, and pursuing $200,000 with the urgency of someone chasing peace will cause you to sacrifice things that actually improve your life. Time with family, hobbies, experiences, health. For marginal increments of a benefit you already mostly have. The point of the logarithmic curve isn't to stop building wealth. It's to stop building anxiety about wealth. Build towards $75,000 with urgency because the peace return is massive. Then build toward $200,000, $500,000 and beyond with patience because the peace return is diminishing and you should enjoy the calm you've already earned. The biggest mistake is reaching $75,000 feeling peace and immediately replacing the financial anxiety with accumulation anxiety. The worry that you're not growing fast enough, not earning enough, not maximizing every dollar. That's the same anxiety in a different costume. The peace you earned has a purpose, to let you live, not to be replaced by another version of worry. So here's what I want you to take from this. The number that buys peace of mind is $50,000 to $75,000 in net worth. Not $1 million, not $500,000. A number that is realistic, achievable, and possibly within a few years of where you are right now. And the peace it provides isn't partial or temporary. It's the genuine neurological experience of your brain's threat detection system powering down and staying down. That peace is not a luxury. It's not something you earn after decades of grinding. It's available to you far sooner than you've been told. And everything you want to build afterward, the big portfolio, the financial independence, the generational wealth, is easier, faster, and more enjoyable when you build it from peace rather than panic. So stop chasing a number that keeps moving. Reach the number that stops moving, $75,000. Build it with urgency, protect it with discipline, and then let the peace do what peace does. Make everything else possible. Because the truth is, you don't need $1 million to sleep through the night. You need $75,000, and that's a lot closer than you think.